It's already done. It's already finished. I'm already qualified. It's already finished. It has been established in all the earth. Established in all the earth. Whatever I bind, be bound in heaven. Whatever I loose, be loose in heaven. It's already done. Can you put that in the atmosphere? It's already finished. I'm already qualified.
Hi to everybody coming in.
It's already finished.
Hi, my Trika. This is Morgan.
It's already done. And it's already finished. You ain't gotta worry about it. Oh, you're already qualified. It's already finished. It has been established. Established. Whatever I bind, be bound in heaven. Whatever I loose, be loose in heaven. Come on, say, be loose in heaven. Be loose in heaven. If it's mine, I want it.
Hello to everybody coming in.
I want it. Oh, be loose in heaven. Yeah, be loose in heaven. It's already done. It's already finished. Somebody say, I'm already qualified. It's already finished. It has been established. God qualified me for it. Qualified me for it. The banker in heaven has approved me already. The judge in heaven has taken care of my case. Somebody say it's already established. Because he qualified you for it. Stop worrying about it. Stop stressing about it. You better know who you are tonight. You are the child of the King. He's already taken care of it. He's already taken care of it. It's already done. It's already finished. I'm already qualified. It's already finished.
Hello to everybody coming in.
It has been established in all the earth. Established. Established in all the earth.
Hi, Mrs. Shelley. How are you, my love? We're going to get started in a few minutes. I'm going to give a little bit more time to allow some more people to come into the room, and then we're going to jump right in. This is not going to be a very long live at all. It should be fairly quickly. I just want to deliver a message that came to me from our ancestor Aaliyah during my awakened rest, and so we're going to jump in and get started in a few minutes. But this song that's playing is called It Has Been Established by Jacqueline Carr, and this song is right in line with the message that's going to be coming for today. And so I'm going to allow for 2 or 3 more minutes to allow a little bit more people to come into the room, and then we're going to jump right in. And so join me in Music Nancy, guys, and then we're going to explain the song.
God is getting ready to elevate you. They call you qualified. You want to open up your mouth and shout, I'm qualified. So be it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode. I guess we could call it an Art of Ritual. Hello to each and every person coming in the room. I'm so happy to see all of you tonight. It's so good to see everybody. I know that we're all on different time zones, and so I truly give thanks, and I thank you guys for taking the time out to spend a little bit of time, a little bit of your currency with me here at the sanctuary. Welcome to those who may be new, and welcome to everybody who is returning. Those of you who are new, my name is Rumo Neighbor Highland Bay, and I am one half of the sanctuary here at Highland Spices. On the other side, I have my beautiful, amazing, magical wife, who you guys affectionately hear me refer to as Mrs. Holland, or you guys can call her Akila Assad Holland, but she is the other half of me, and together we are Highland Spices, the Herbal Sanctuary. And usually on Sundays, you guys will find, when you guys come over here to join us at the sanctuary, we usually are doing and going live for our Art of Ritual episodes that take place on Sundays here at the sanctuary. And this week's episode was supposed to be the message from Jama Kali, and that episode has been pushed back by way of the mother. We're still gathering the information. She's still giving me so many downloads, but as we wait for next week's episode to come, called Divine Mother, Divine Substance, the spirit of Aaliyah came to me during my awakened rest with, I think, a very timely message, and a message of ascension that I feel. Hi, Imani. Hi, Boo. Everybody say, hey, Goddess Works. Those of you who are looking for ways to defend yourself, especially being the divine feminine right now, living in such a crazy world, and so many, incidents are happening, especially as it relates to melanated women. I encourage you guys to follow Goddess Works. She is always dropping information as it relates to women and how we can keep ourselves safe. And not only that, but she also has a ton of tools, physical tools that we're able to use and can use to defend ourselves out here in these tricky ass streets, okay? And so y'all go give my sister Goddess Works a follow and keep up with what it is that she's doing. But today's episode, I guess we can call this an Art of Ritual episode titled The Exalted One, is basically the title of today's live. And I just wanted to come on here really quickly. I'm not even going to be on here really long, but I wanted to come to you guys and give y'all the message that Aaliyah left with me a few nights ago. And I guess I'll start with my dream, because this is really where it came from. She came to me during my awakened rest, and in the dream I was with a group of friends, and we were somewhere. It's like a two-part dream, and we were somewhere, and it was a group of us, and we were at this house. And we were more so really like in community, like a community style getaway. Some of the people I knew, some of the people I didn't know. But during a part of the dream, there was a lot going on at one moment. And while I was in the dream, something told me to go outside. Okay. And so in the dream, I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna go outside. So I went outside. I had my phone in my hand, and I'm outside. Nothing's really happening. Mind you guys, this is all in my dream. Nothing's happening. And while I'm in the dream, something says to look up. And so I go and I look up, and there's nothing abnormal in the sky. There's nothing that would jump out right away that would make me be like, oh shit, it just looked like a regular sky. And so as I'm looking at the sky, Spirit says to take my phone and point it up to the sky and look at the sky, all in the dream. And so I take my phone and I point it up to the sky, and y'all, the second that I held my phone up to the sky, I could see this massive ship. It was, and I don't want to call it a spaceship, because that's not the energy of what it felt like. It just felt like a ship, something that I don't think that we've seen in like movies, or that we've seen people draw. I can't even really explain it. It just looked like a massive, massive black ship. And it had two parts. It was like a circular part was right here in the front, and then it was like a little pathway that went down the middle, and then once you walk down the middle, there was another like round part of the ship. So just imagine two circles up in the sky, and there's like this long pathway that links them two, and this is just hovering up in the ship, up in the sky, right? And nobody can see it. You wouldn't be able to see it with the naked eye. You would literally have to use, or I had to use my phone in order for me to see what was in the sky. You know what I'm saying? And in the sky was this massive ship. And so I see this, and then I called people outside that I was with, and I said, come outside, y'all. I need y'all to see this. Come look at this ship. Hi, Zen. Come look at this ship. And so two people came outside, and I had them look at my phone, and in the phone, I'm like, do you guys see this? Like, do y'all see this shit? Like, do y'all see what I'm looking at? And they were able to see what it is that I was looking at. So I knew that I wasn't tripping, and imagining seeing the ship in the sky. It was really there, and the only way to see it was by using the phone. And so that part of the dream happened, and then the dream shoots to this room, and I'm sitting in this room, and there's a bunch of people that are sitting in the room too, and we're listening to these two women speak. And I don't know if you guys know, but they're like twin rappers here on Instagram. I can't remember their name, but I remember coming across their page a while ago, and they're these twin rappers from New York. I believe they're from New York, and they're really dope, right? Hip hop artists. They aren't, over sexualized or anything. They don't show a lot of skin. They don't rap about a lot of nonsense. It's just clean hip hop, right? Rapping. And so we're sitting in this audience, and we're listening to these two women speak, right? And so I'm listening, and I'm off to the side, and I'm listening, right? And then after a while, guys, I had ADD in the dream, because I'm listening, and I'm taking in everything that's being said. But then my mind starts to wonder why I'm in a dream. So I was about to, as I'm sitting here listening to the woman speak, I was about to, excuse myself, because it wasn't keeping my attention, rather, right? And so just as I'm about to get up, and they were speaking about Aaliyah. I guess I forgot to say that part. But the women were speaking about Aaliyah. So they were telling, stories about Aaliyah. They were giving the history of who she was. They were like telling bits and pieces of her life. The conversation was about Aaliyah. And so right as I was about to get up and leave, I got up halfway. One of the girls turned around, and she looked me dead in my face, and she said, no. She said, you can't leave yet. You're about to miss the best part, right? That's what she said. She said, you're about to miss the best part, so you gotta stay. So when she said that, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna sit down, and I'm gonna give you a few more minutes, and I'm gonna listen to this information, because I don't want to miss the best part of the story, right? And so right after she finished saying that, and I sat back down, I woke up from the dream, okay? And when I woke up from the dream, the dream was very vivid. Like, it was very, very vivid in my senses when I woke up from the dream. And so the very first thing that Spirit did or sent me to was to look up the name of Aaliyah, or the etymology of Aaliyah. And so that was the very first thing that I did. And so when I went to go look up the etymology of Aaliyah, or the metaphysical definition of Aaliyah, her name derives from the root name Ali, okay? And the meaning of Ali translates into sublime or exalted, right? But what was very interesting when looking up her name, Spirit took me to the Jews. Okay, so the Jews came into play here, because one of the things that, in their practice of Judaism, or whatever you want to call their religion, Christianity, Catholicism, whatever you want to call it, when you look at their whole purpose, or the whole purpose of their spiritual practice is to make Aaliyah. And I had never heard that before, right? So the whole purpose of this spiritual practice is to make Aaliyah. Okay, and so I'm like, okay, cool. Well, what the hell that mean? So I want to go dive deeper into what it meant to make Aaliyah. And so when you go and you research Aaliyah, you guys can do all of this on your own, for your own research, just so that you can see it for yourself, and that you see, that I'm not just pulling this stuff out of my ass. Like you're able to go and connect the dots after this. When I went to go look up what it meant to make Aaliyah, it literally means, or it says, to make Aaliyah is to go up towards God. Or more simply, to rise or to ascend. Okay? And so I'm like, okay. So what are you trying to say to me? Where are you taking me with this? Remember, the first part of the dream started off with me seeing this massive ship. This massive spaceship that was in the sky. Okay? And it was just sitting there. It wasn't doing anything. It was more so just hovering. And it was massive. Like you couldn't even measure it, or your mind couldn't even comprehend how big this ship was. That's how massive it was. Okay. And so once I looked up Aaliyah and I did a little bit more research with the Jews and really trying to understand their spiritual practice. And the whole purpose of their spiritual practice is to ascend, to rise up, right? But what's interesting is that when you look at the history of the Jews, okay, and you look at their mission of nationality, you find a lot of issues with it, right? They call themselves basically the indigenous people to God. Their whole purpose was to ensure that their doctrine went from one end of the earth to the other. This is why we are forced to go to church, okay, and to learn the doctrine of Jesus Christ. This is the reason why we have so many wars happening as it relates to the Middle East and to Israel and all this other foolishness. Their whole purpose of them conquering the land is really predicated on them being the children or the promised people that God chose to operate and to occupy this land down here, right? Until God was coming back to ascend them. And so I thought that was very fascinating, because it don't add up. And I'm just gonna say that it don't add up. It doesn't add up in any way, shape, or it just doesn't add up. And when we go and we really research, well, who are the Jews? Who are they parading to be? Okay. Whose story have they assumed and have been living out? And when we look at the words that are attributed to the plight of Jews, is a direct reflection of melanated people in every part of this world that you find us in, okay? And so Aaliyah is coming out and she's speaking about rising up and she's speaking about ascending, okay? And when we look at the root word of Aaliyah, the people who try or who are predicated on making Aaliyah are the Jews. And for the Jews to make Aaliyah, it simply means that they are ascending or they are rising up. Okay, and so I'm taking this information and then I'm sitting here and Aaliyah starts to take me through her life. She starts to take me through where she died, how she died, the day she died, the place in which the plane crashed, and the ritual that happened around her passing and around her death. And she starts to take me through all the bits and pieces. And I'm not going to get into all of that because it would take forever to break down every bit and piece. And even as I was trying to bring this together, I found it being very difficult to focus and to get every little detail, to break down every little word. I found it becoming too much. And then today, I heard Aaliyah say, I'm not trying to do all that. Like, you just come on here and give the message as simply as you can without making it overcomplicated. And so as she's taking me through her life, she goes to a very specific point in her life when she filmed the movie Akasha. And I think for many people, we assume that Akasha was just a fictional character. And for some people, Akasha is a fictional character. But when you really start to go in and really look deeper into the being that was portrayed in the movie The Queen of the Damned, you find that Akasha was actually real. She was a goddess that was alive and operated during the time of the pharaohs. You know, she operated during the time and ruled alongside Enlil or Enlil. I'm sure I'm saying his name wrong, but Enlil. And she ruled during that time, and she was really known for her lack of tolerance for people who thought differently than her. You understand what I'm saying? She ruled with an iron fist. And, you know, when it came to Akasha, even when we look at her in the movie, she was really a no-nonsense vampire in a sense, because that's what they portrayed her as, a vampire. But she was a no-nonsense vampire. And she had been asleep for a very long time. And the only thing that woke her in the movie was sound, was tone. It wasn't until I think his name was Circuit or something like that, or I can't remember the white guy's name that played alongside of her, but the main male vampire that was in the movie, he awoke Akasha through tone or through sound, through the playing of the violin, so through frequency. And so she was taking me through this movie, and she had me rewatch the movie again, and it blew my mind to actually rewatch the movie again after so many years, and with the mind that I have today, because there's so much symbolism and there's so many downloads that you're going to receive. If you guys decide to check that movie out again, I absolutely recommend it. So when I'm watching the movie, Aaliyah sent me to look up the etymology of, or the definition of, Akasha. And when we look for the definition of Akasha, it broke down to mean sky, the space, okay, the one without a body. It broke down into being the fifth element, which is spirit. We have earth, air, water, fire, and then together they come together to produce the ether, or to open up the ether, or to activate spirit, to activate the spirit realm. Okay, and so Akasha represents the fifth element. This element comes, the other that follows obviously are earth, air, water, and fire. Akasha is the purest of all of them. Okay, Akasha also translates into ether, into the ether, okay, and it acts as the medium through which sound travels. So when we look at Akasha in this movie called Queen of the Damned, we think that we're looking at just a character that was written in a script, but what we're really looking at is the activation of the ethers. We're looking at the activation of spirit. And the way that the spirit is activated, or the ether is open, is through sound. And Aaliyah was sound. She was music. She operated in music. Even if the music that she was singing was really forced in a way. You know what I'm saying? And it had a lot of turmoil attached to the music and the songs that she was singing, because of the trauma that her physical body endured here, you know, as a child. And she had no protection when she was moving out here as a child. And so in a lot of ways, her physical body was violated. And she died a natural death. But the way that she was explaining it to me, she was telling me that when she died and her body transitioned off of this earth, she went from being Aaliyah, but her mission was in her name, which was to ascend. So when she died, her spirit became Akasha. She became sound. She became frequency. Okay? And she's saying that you can still feel and hear her frequency even today. You can still feel her spirit. Okay? And so Akasha means sky, space, the one without a body, the ether, the medium through which sound travels. Okay? And so as I'm going through all of this, she then takes me to Joel, the second chapter of Joel. So Joel in the second chapter. And I want to read this because this is her message that she comes to bring. Aaliyah is coming in the form and in the fashion of the Divine Mother. And she's coming to bring the message that everyone that has come before her has brought. And it's been the same message. That ascension is upon us. That we are in the middle of an active ascension, even if the things around you feel the same. Okay? Even if the vibrations around you feel the same. She's charging us to shift our tone, to shift our frequency. Okay? And in shifting our frequency, this is allowing us to rise up, to ascend. Okay? To become one without a body. Okay? And so she took me to Joel chapter 2, the whole chapter. When y'all get time, I want y'all to go and read Joel chapter 2, the whole chapter. Now, before I read this, I'm going to say sometime last week, I was asleep on the couch, just laid down for a nap in the middle of the day. And when I was dreaming. I don't remember what the dream was that was happening. But when I was coming out of this dream, I could feel the earth shaking. Like I could feel, it almost felt like an earthquake. But the earthquake was so close and it was so near that I could feel the reverberations of it like in my body. Like that's how much the earth was shaking. Like the room that I was sitting in, or laying in, it was shaking. And the dream felt so real that I had to turn around and look at Akasha to see, like, am I tripping? Hold on, y'all, because I got lamps going. And I just want to make sure that they don't get too close to the edge. And so I had to turn around once I woke up and I looked back at Akasha to see, were we in the middle of earthquake or something? And when I turned around to look at her, she was asleep. So I knew that this was a dream, like I was dreaming. But I could feel the earth trembling. And then before that, me and Akasha were driving in the car somewhere. I wasn't asleep. We were driving in the car somewhere. And this meditation song came on, started playing on the radio. And when the song started playing, it took me into, immediately, it took me into a vision. And as I'm sitting in the car, Akasha was talking to me about something, and I went out of listening, tuned her out, because I was literally in the middle of an active vision. And as I'm sitting in the car, I saw the earth split straight down the middle. The earth split into two, and it opened up. And when the earth opened up, it started to float. I could see it floating in front of me, the two pieces, the two sides. And they were almost moving in and out of each other like this. This is how it was moving. And the earth split. And as I'm looking at the earth in two parts, I look down and I can see straight through the bottom. And it was nothing but darkness. It was void. There was no light. There was no sound. It was complete darkness. Right? And so when I came out of the vision, I immediately told Akasha what it was that I saw. And we broke it down a little bit. They sent me to a scripture. I can't remember what scripture it was. But then I went on about our day. Now, the dream that I had in the living room, when I woke up and I felt the earth shaking, when I came out of that dream, I immediately heard Spirit say that there was about to be something that happened on the earth, right? That was going to cause a shakeup. Okay, this shakeup is going to come in the form of, your individual lives, the things that are happening individually. It could be a shakeup with our families, shakeup in our relationships. But there's also going to be a shakeup that's going to rock the world and the people. And when this shakeup happens, I also truly believe that we're going to feel the earth shake in some way, right? It could be the volcanoes that are happening right now. We may have a major one that takes place, another one that comes that's really, really major where we feel it in many parts of the world. But the earth is going through a breaking or a shaking, right? And so these messages of the earth splitting, these messages of the world being shaken have been coming in, right? From so many different ways. And so today, when Aaliyah gave me Joel chapter 2, I want y'all to hear this because it validates those dreams and the vision that I had while I was in the car. And this is the message and the scripture that Aaliyah gave to me to give to the world. Because this is another warning, and that's how it feels like it's coming across to me again as a warning, okay? Mind you, before I read this, the title of Joel chapter 2 is, and I didn't see this until I was about to go on live tonight. The title of Joel chapter 2 starts out as an army of locusts, y'all. It starts off in Joel chapter 2 titled an army of locusts. And while I was talking to my sister Grace, she really gave me the song that played at the beginning. Hi, my Shasha. I know you was going live tonight, but if it's something that you want to say or anything that you wanted to share or to talk about, I encourage you to come on and join me on live. You know, when we get on together, it goes next level. And so this Joel chapter 2 is titled An Army of Locusts. And when I was sitting or today talking to my sister Grace, the song that played at the beginning, she sent to me today, and it was so perfect that I had to use it for today because it fell right in line. Hold on, my baby coming. Let me get my baby in. Hi, honey.
Hi, baby.
Hi, Bookie. I love you.
I love you. I am not looking live ready, but
Child,
I'll hop on here with you. I've been doing my vision board all day, so yeah.
Oh, good. Yes, you were talking to us about making sure that we get into some ritual today.
Yeah.
But Shasta, so you know, earlier we were talking about locusts, right? We discovered today that here in Arizona, we've been seeing a lot of, we thought they were grasshoppers, but they weren't grasshoppers. Yes. We have been seeing them everywhere. Like they're out in front of our house here, where we live. There's a bunch of, we thought they were grasshoppers, so that's what we were calling them. So it was a bunch of grasshoppers around the house here. They're in the yard. If we go to the market, you see them anywhere. You just see these big brown grasshopper looking bugs. And so when I was speaking with Grace today in a DM, we started talking about locusts somehow. Somehow we got on the subject of locusts. And so Spirit said, go look up locusts in Arizona. And when I went to go look up locusts in Arizona, they end up being the things that we thought were grasshoppers. So we've been seeing locusts everywhere. Dead ones she'll come back, ones that are dead, ones that are alive. But these were literally grasshoppers that we thought that we had been seeing. And they weren't grasshoppers. They end up being locusts. Okay? Those of you who are familiar with, I grew up in church. And so I understand the symbolism of locusts. When locusts came into play, I understand all of that. So I was just sharing with them that we just thought that we were seeing grasshoppers. And so today we learned in my conversation with Grace today, we learned that the things that we thought were grasshoppers, in fact, were actually locusts.
Okay? Yes.
And so when Aaliyah gave me the scripture today, Shai, of Joel chapter 2, right before I get on live, the title of this chapter is literally titled, Shai, An Army of Locusts, bitch. The
And I
title.
told you Friday when I took Kennedy to the pizza place, we were walking down the sidewalk,
Mm-hmm.
and I heard something rattle, and I'm like, you know, so naturally as a mother, I like flew my hand out for her to
Yes.
stop. You know,
Yes.
that's how much of a ruckus, the noise it made.
Yes.
And so I stopped her in her tracks, and I'm like, yo, what the heck is that? And the locust had blended in with the concrete. So
Yes.
I didn't really like focus in on it until it literally had like jumped or flew or whatever it did.
Yes.
It literally was in front of me. It wanted me to see it.
Yes.
To the point where I had to walk around it, and Kennedy was like, please, Mom, be careful, don't get close to it. Like, that's how huge it was. I mean, literally,
yes. And they're
we're
massive,
talking like
y'all.
this
They're
big.
massive. Like these locusts here are massive. And
Yes.
I didn't even know that Arizona had locusts.
I didn't know.
Okay. So Aaliyah gives me Joel chapter 2 today. And the title of this chapter, I only want to move through 2 parts of it, and I encourage you guys on your own time to go and to read and to break down Joel chapter 2.
Let me get my phone to look at the
Yeah, go ahead. So I'm just going to read the parts or the warning parts that Aaliyah gave me to read, okay? And this is about ascension. This is about us ascending from where we are right now. I think for many of people, I think that people think that ascension is going to be something trivial. I think that we have overused the word so much that I don't think that people really understand that ascension is a physical thing as much as it is a spiritual thing. And just as much as we see and feel ourselves spiritually change and transform, we are going to begin seeing those same physicalities in the planet. We're going to begin to see the planet shift and change and become like a world that we never knew. The people that are on the planet are shifting. And I believe that's why Spirit keeps sending the message of the earth shaking, of the earth trembling, right?
Well,
so
we did have that earthquake in Hawaii today, but go ahead.
Yes, and then there was an earthquake in Hawaii that Shai had sent in our group chat right before I got on live that I saw. So again, another example of the earth shaking, of the earth trembling, okay? And so Joel chapter 2, titled An Army of Locusts, okay? And the verse starts out saying, mind you, Akasha is sound, okay, y'all? Akasha is literally sound. It acts as the ether through which sound travels. Okay?
The blow of the trumpet, though?
Listen, okay?
Wow.
So the verse starts off saying, blow the trumpet in Zion and sound the alarm on my holy hill. Let all who live in the land tremble, for the day of the Lord is coming. I replace Lord with mother because we're going back to the original, to the Trinity. I don't care what you feel like you think you know as it relates to what God is on this planet or what the ruling consciousness on this planet is. It is the mother, the triple goddess, the mother, the maiden, and the crone, which is the mother, the maiden, and time. And she's coming to say time is up, right? So let all who live in the land tremble, for the day of the mother is coming, and it is close at hand, a day of darkness and of gloom, a day of clouds and of blackness, like dawn spreading across the mountains. A large and mighty army comes, such as never was seen in ancient times, nor will it ever be seen in ages to come. Before the fires devour, behind them a flame blazes. Before them the land is like the Garden of Eden, and behind them a desert waste. Nothing escapes them. They have the appearance of horses. They gallop along like the cavalry. With a noise like that of the chariots, they leap over the mountaintops, like the crackling fire consuming stubble like a mighty army drawn up for the battle. At the sight of them, the nations are in anguish. Every face turns pale. They charge like warriors. They scale walls like soldiers. They all march in line, not swerving from their course. They do not jostle each other. Each marches straight ahead. They plunge through defenses without breaking ranks. They rush upon the city. They run along the walls. They climb into the houses. Like thieves, they enter through the windows. Before them, the earth shakes and the heavens tremble. The sun and the moon are darkened, and the stars no longer shine. The mother thunders at the head of her army. Her forces are beyond numbers, and mighty is the army that obeys her command. The day of the mother is great, and it is dreadful. Who all can endure it? So when we look at the symbolism of the lotus, and when we saw the lotus come in, most famously, the locust played a stirring role when Moses took on Pharaoh in Egypt. Okay, and when Moses took on Pharaoh, Moses went to Pharaoh in order to free the Egyptians that were in slavery. Okay, and Aaliyah is coming, and Akasha is coming. She's coming in the spirit of Akasha, okay, which is sound, which is the ether, the opening of the ethers. Okay, and she's coming to say that time is up on your ill thinking, on your pleasures, okay, on your false idols, okay, on us prostituting the resources as it relates to this land, on us prostituting the knowledge as it relates to freeing the people. Time is up.
Yes.
Okay, that is when we saw the locusts come into play. Okay, and then God used 10 plagues: blood, frogs, gnats, flies, livestock, pestilence, boils, hail, locusts, darkness, and the death of the firstborn. When DMX died, and when he came to me to tell me that when he died, his death called war to this land. And when he transitioned off the planet, he closed the portals, the portal to their magic, okay? The powers that be, your government officials, the Jews who are in a false position, okay? The Jews who are parading as the indigenous people to this land, okay? Who have taken and stolen and have turned this land into their Eden. Mother is coming to say that she's shaking the lands and she's putting her people back where they belong. And this has nothing to do with race, but Mother is really at a point where she's calling order into everything. And the first place where she's calling order is to putting the divine feminine back into her place, which is at the side of the mother. And everything else, it is the child of the daughter. Every other race comes behind that. And we must fall in order to put the melanated divine feminine back into her place. And this is the call of Aaliyah. This is the call of the Akasha. Aaliyah represents the records. Okay, where else we see Akasha or the Akashic records. When she died, she took their records. That's why she said, don't waste my time with beings like R. Kelly. Don't waste my time. He has no connection to her, but his judgment will be from her. His judgment will be from her. But she has no affiliation to him. She has no messages to deliver as it relates to him. Because when she left her physical body, she ascended into sound. and to the sound of the ethers. And Joel chapter 2 starts off saying, blow the trumpets of Zion. Blow the trumpets of Zion. My sister's Wi-Fi is acting up. And so while I wait for her thing to come back and to play, I want to read the last part of Joel chapter 2. Okay? The last part of Joel chapter 2 says, and afterwards, after the destruction, because the locust desolates the land. Okay? The locust, much like the lanternfly, devastates the livestock. Okay? It devastates the land and it brings the world to its feet, especially as it relates to eating and living. Okay? And then from starvation and from the land being decimated, it welcomes in the energy of pestilence. Okay? So those of you who are wondering if we're in the times of Revelation, we are in the times of Revelation. Okay? And so the last part of Joel chapter 2 that I want to read, and I encourage you guys again to go out there and to read on your own time, Joel chapter 2. Let me get my sister back in. So Joel chapter 2. And it says, and afterwards I will pour, this is now we're at Joel 28 through 32. I first started reading Joel 1 to 11, but it's a whole chapter. And then the last part that I'm going to read is Joel chapter 2, 28 through 32. Shasha, can you hear me? Hello to everybody coming in. The last part that I want to read is Joel chapter 2, 28 through 32. And it says, and afterwards, after the destruction, after the judgment of the mother, and afterwards, I will pour out my spirit on all people, and your sons and your daughters will prophesy, and your old men will dream dreams. Your young men will see visions, even on my servants, both men and women. And I will pour out my spirit in those days, and I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and billows of smoke. The sun will turn into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the mother, and everyone who calls on the name of the mother will be saved. For on Mount Zion and in Jerusalem there will be deliverance, as the mother has said, even among the survivors whom call on the mother. Sure, I'm trying to bring you in, but it's not letting me. It's not letting me. Can you see me, Shasha?
Yeah, they keep kicking me out. Like
I see, and
ever since Instagram went down completely, my Instagram has not been the same since.
And I feel like even when Instagram and Facebook and all of that went live, these are all examples of us falling away. And finding different means of connection with each other, finding different ways of getting in touch with your tribes, with your families, because this planet is going to go dark, whether we like it or not.
Yes.
And there's been so many messages of the ancestors are physically coming back to give and to sound the alarm. And then you have people out here that spirit is speaking to, that is delivering the message, that is sounding the warning. And Aaliyah came in to say that ascension is upon us. And before we can get to the active role of ascension, collapse and destruction has to take place. And now the locusts are coming into play.
Yeah.
Okay? Go ahead, Charlie. What you want to say before I lose you again?
Right. So as I was sitting here, I just looked up the etymology of locust.
Yes.
And the first word on here is grasshopper. Large insect noted for mass migrations.
Yes.
Okay. Accompanied by destruction, ravages of vegetation. Now, sis.
Yes. What is that? The lantern fly.
That's the lantern fly.
Yes.
That's the lantern fly. And so y'all know these bugs have been working with us specifically, especially if you are zeroed in. And this is why I love me and my SISTAR, because we are influencing so many people that we don't even realize it. So I had a SISTAR who sent me a picture from Brooklyn of a dead lanternfly on the ground, and she was like, "Sis, I know you know what this is." She was like, "I know you're not doing readings right now, but I know you know what this is." And as soon as I saw, I could have threw the phone. I could have threw the phone because I was so in shock the fact that she sent me a picture of this. Why? Because she's in tune, and it showed itself to her.
Come on.
It showed itself to her, and the fact that Spirit said, "You already know someone that knows what this is."
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? So these locusts or grasshoppers are accompanied by destructive ravages of vegetation. What does that mean? Okay. So you know how these people are up here talking about they're going to put this jab in the food?
Yes.
They can't do that when this shit is being destroyed by these locusts and by these lantern flies. How would they be able to do that? So this food that we think is food will be destroyed.
It will be. And for many people, they're going to, because you're not tuned in, you're going to look at it as a bad thing. But it's really helping you. It's helping to ascend you. It's clearing our paths. There's a reset that's happening. And we taught, me and my sister Shot, we taught on the lanternfly, what now? It'll be, 2 years ago?
Is it? About a year
and a half ago, maybe?
Yeah,
almost like 2 years ago?
Yes. So this is nothing new. This is something that is going to repeat over and over and over again, because it's a warning. And so warnings are repeated until you finally say, "I get the warning." You know, oh my God, I see it. The first few words of this scripture says, sounding of the trumpet. These locusts, when they make the sound, it sounds like a trumpet.
Remember, we heard them outside the door every day. And people, some of them were the cicadas, but a lot of them were the sound of the locusts.
Yes.
A lot of them, and they were blowing the trumpet.
Yes.
Okay, they were blowing the trumpet. The first part of my dream started off with me looking at a ship up in the sky, a massive ship up in the sky. That already tells you that this is not where we belong. This is not where we're from. This is an experience that meant that we got lost in. We got lost in our own creation and then overrun by our own creation. But the ship being above me lets me know that we're ascending to something. We're ascending upward to something in the sky. Okay? Yes. And the only way that we're going to be able to shift and to hear the sound of "it's time to go, time is up, it's time to go," is if man have an ear, let him hear what Spirit is saying to the churches. And Aaliyah means to ascend or to rise up. And Akasha means the sound, the ethers, the medium through which sound travels. So our ascension is predicated on the sound of the frequency that is coming out of the bodies. Okay? The sound that's emitting out of your frequency. Are you low vibrational? Are you emitting worry and fear and scarcity and poverty? Or are you emitting that it's all worked out? That you've been doing your shadow work? That you've been in tune and connecting with Spirit in order for you to hear what Spirit is saying to the churches? Or are we still lost in our pleasures? We are in a season that's simply your life for your pleasures. Your life for your pleasures. And the song that was played in the beginning by Jacqueline Carr is titled, It's Already Been Established. That means that the work that myself, that my SISTAR, that beings like us, that the wombs that are opening up their mouths and getting on tune, the sound that is emitting from us is changing the frequency and the tone of this planet.
And they said it's an army.
It's an army of us. It may not look like an army of us, but it's an army of us.
So now we got to look up the army.
Right? And the song at the beginning says, what I loose on earth shall be loose in heaven. What I bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. Okay? Everything is ritual. Every day that we wake up and make the decision to go to our altars, to say our prayers, to set our intentions, to speak more consciously with the mother, to continue to fall away from what we know is patriarchy, what we know is masculine energy. Mother is shutting the mouth of the masculine.
Sure.
Hear me. And this don't have nothing to do with ego. This has nothing to do with what you feel like your gender, where you feel like your gender ranks. Mother is closing the mouth of the masculine. She is shutting down the sound of patriarchy. Yes. And everything that vibrates with it. That means that if you have not accessed your divine feminine energy, if you have not become comfortable with the fact that the divine mother sits at the head of everything that you think you know, it's done. It's done. That we have to save the black man, that we have to save the masculine energy and put respect on the masculine. Y'all need to put some respect on the divine mother. We need to put some respect on the divine feminine. Because without the divine feminine, none of this would exist.
Come on.
I wouldn't be here. She wouldn't be here. Your masculine energy wouldn't be here. And it's all going back to her. Go ahead, Sha. What you want to say?
So the really big locusts that we're seeing are the feminine ones.
Look at that. Look at that.
On average, adult male locusts are smaller than adult females of the same species.
Look at that.
Yeah.
So when she says she's showing herself, she's showing herself in everything.
Yes.
And she's rewriting how this whole thing is going to run. She's rewriting it. She's rewriting our DNA. Okay? She's rewriting how we understand spirit, how we connect with spirit. She's rewriting who you call on when you go into your prayer rooms. Okay? She's bringing us back to ourselves. We move this bitch. And without us, the earth stands still.
Yes.
It stands still. We spin this. We put everything where it belongs until we fell in love with our creation. And now the divine mother is getting up off of being down and weighted under, and she's standing up. And as she stands up, we have to make the decision to rise with her, to ascend with her. Least we be washed away with it. Joel 2 says, blow the trumpet and sound the alarm on my holy hill. The locusts are speaking. The locusts are speaking. I wanted to pull one card from the Kali deck.
Also, real quick, the locusts, the ones that we see, they are in their final stage.
Ooh, look at
meaning that these locusts move through several stages or several ascensions before they actually reach the full adults that we see, or that I saw into fruition. So I really want y'all to understand that these, what they call nymphs, okay, they're nymphs, and they go through a series of solitary confinement where they ascend through different phases and transform into what we see as the flying locust. So you don't even see the transformation that they went through. So all I'm hearing right now is we are in the final stage. We are in the final stage of the ascension. Ascension is a process that we've been going through. So as you've been waking up and coming into your knowing, that is a part of your ascension. And then you start to ascend quicker, because now that you're aware, that's when your timeline starts to speed up, right? And so Matthew 24 talks about the timeline being sped up in your favor.
Come on.
Everyone's timeline is different, right? And so as you wake up, your timeline starts to speed up. And so if you're wondering why, like, I know with us, Rue, we're like, yo, time be flying, like, what the hell? And that's because we are at a certain part of ascension where time means nothing. And so it just seems like a moment. Whereas before, when I was not ascending, you know, I had not come into my awareness, you couldn't tell me that time moved so damn slow. And that's because I didn't understand or know the beauty of life and really understand why I was here. I was just working. And so as I was working and slaving, time was just going so slow because I wasn't in alignment with my true timeline, right? And so now that I have activated my timeline. Now time is speeding up in my favor in order to get me to my full ascension, which is obviously my covering, right? So I just wanted to kind of point that out, is that, you know, we're all going through stages. You're going through stages. So don't beat yourself up. Like, you know, don't like try to, you know, discredit your ascension. You know, we're all in different areas of the race. This is a marathon. This is not a competition. You know, we are literally on a marathon. I'm still working on myself. Rue is still working on herself every single day. But this is why it's so important that y'all be in heavy ritual. I was just telling Grace yesterday, you know, we are going to have to be in ritual every day, if not twice a day.
Come on. Come on.
Every day.
Come on.
So this is something that's going to have to be a part of your life. It's a lifestyle. It's not something that you just get up and do like going to church. It's a part of who you are.
That's a word. And the card pull for from my Kali deck is called the Kali Oracle. Okay, as you guys can see, is number 5. So we have that change, transformations.
I just talked about transformations.
And if we look really closely, you can see that the bottom of this planet right here is breaking apart.
Okay.
Do you see? It's collapsing underneath it. It's still together. It's still the illusion that it's holding. It's still the illusion that the foundation is clear. But if you look really closely, you can see it cracking. You see it crumbling. And I just got finished telling you at the beginning that my dream, the last dream that I had, and the last awakened vision that I had was of the earth breaking. Remember me sharing that with you, Sha? That I saw the earth crack?
Yes.
It's cracking. It's cracking. Okay? And this card is called Guna Tantrika. I may be saying that wrong. Forgive me if I am. A lot of these words I'm just learning and becoming familiar with this tongue. Okay. And the message from the Ghana Tantrika is: the Divine Mother manifests the cure for when we feel overwhelmed or confused, or when we feel like we're falling apart or locked into stagnation. She is the superior medicine, even when we may not be sure what is needed to bring ourselves back into balance. It's okay if you don't know. Just be obedient to what it is that you're hearing. It's okay that you don't know how to put the pieces into place. It's okay that you don't know what the totality of your ascension is going to look like. Mother is asking that you be obedient to what it is that you are hearing and what you are being instructed to do in your own individualism. Not what someone else is telling you ascension looks like. What does ascension look like to you? What does this breaking and this collapsing look like to you? Okay? Tune in to your heart, and there you will find her sacred prescription. The heart is the subconscious. Okay? So look into your heart. That is where you will find her sacred prescription. Trust your inner guiding sense of what to do. Trust yourself. Listen, the only way out of this in this season is through trusting yourself. Trusting what saith the Lord. When we look at the Lord, the etymology, the metaphysical definition of the Lord, it translates into the spiritual activity of the I am. Not somebody out in the clouds that's waiting to ascend to come down here and save your ass. We must save ourselves in this season. Okay? Trust your inner guiding sense of what to do or not to do. Trust that a better order is being established. The name of the song that I played at the beginning of this live is literally titled, It Has Been Established. What are you establishing? What are you establishing in this new world? What are you establishing in this new understanding, in this new recognition of yourself? What are you establishing in this new world? What are you establishing in this new contract? Okay? Trust that a better order is being established. The Guna is Kali as the medicine mother. She generates and regulates the three inherent qualities within all phenomena, including our body, our mind, and our soul. The triple goddess, the mother, the maiden, and the crone. The mother, the maiden, and time. Shah is sitting in front of the symbolism of the Trinity, the original Trinity, before it was hijacked by masculine energy known as the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. How can the Holy Spirit be masculine when the etymology of Holy Spirit is feminine? It's feminine. So we're talking about the mother. So she regulates all the inherent qualities within all phenomena, including our body, our mind, and our soul. These three qualities are known as the three gunas: the sativa, the rajas, and the tamas. Kali is the peaceful detachment and contentment in the moment. She is the fire of the rajas, the energy for taking action and hustling for our sacred manifestations. When our actions rest upon a pure-hearted foundation, our activities become enlightened, bringing about a spiritual benefit for all. Even if we don't always recognize the positive and far-reaching impact of our actions at the time. Ronnie said to me, my friend said to me today, that he doesn't think that I really understand the impact that I've had on the people around me just by being who I am. Just by being unafraid to stand in my individuality.
I love it.
Right? And this is saying that when we rest our actions upon a pure-hearted foundation, our activities become enlightened, bringing about a spiritual benefit of all. Even the shit that you think you're doing for yourself, you're doing it for the collective. Even the healing that you think that you're doing for yourself, you're doing for the collective.
Yes.
The breaking that you think that you're doing, that you're experiencing in your individual world, you are breaking for the collective. We are working on behalf of the collective every day that we choose ourselves.
Yes.
Every day that we choose our individual consciousness, we are benefiting the spiritual benefit of all beings everywhere. This card tells us that when we need to slow down to heal, ground ourselves and regroup, Kali becomes tamas, the heaviness that allows energy to settle. This is the temporary Anasha that stills momentum and allows for deep restoration and renewal. The freedom it takes rest helps us stay the course for however long is needed to manifest our destiny without becoming desperate, despairing, or exhausted. That's why Job said, do you have the capacity to wait for the destruction to settle, for the devastation to settle? And Psalms 91 tells you that when we trust in the Divine Mother, right? When we trust that spirit to lead, guide, and direct every action, that only with our eyes shall we look and see the reward of the wicked. 10,000 may fall at our right side and 1,000 at our left, but destruction will not come near you. It will not touch your body. It will not touch your home. It will not touch your families unless they chose their timelines on their own. You must choose yours.
Yes.
We must choose our own selves. And in such a rest, we rest and we reset, assessing the courage to drop our attachments to our external support systems and even our own plans. When we become increasingly able to flow, rather than trying to direct and control the manifestations of her divine plan through us, as we call upon Kali, she strengthens these qualities within. Listen to your heart for her guidance. Do you need to be peaceful, to take action, to let go, or to regroup? Your inner wisdom is her voice guiding you. Excess tamas keeps us enslaved in a negative holding pattern. Then the guna, or the energy that can help, actually hinders it. We need Kali, the tantric priestess of the guna, to intervene for our cure. Tamas can affect or can manifest as depression, as procrastination, the inability to rise and to take steps forward, or as an action taken without the thought of how it may affect others. To overcome excess Tamas energy, Kali can stimulate us with divine fire, creating rajas, a powerful urge to take action, to rise. And that is the etymology of Aaliyah, to rise or to ascend. Okay?
Yes. Wow.
And I think that's where I want to stop. Right here. Without Kali's wisdom and correction, rajas can easily shift into overactivity that doesn't accomplish much and leaves us feeling drained rather than satisfied. We sink back into tamas instead of rising up to our static state. Kali teaches us how to act without becoming caught up in the need to be busy for the sake of it. That means working. That means staying attached to oppressive societies just for the sake of, I'm doing my job. I'm just trying to feed my family. I'm just trying to support my family. So I'm going to continue to operate in activities that cause me to overextend my energy, that causes me to overextend my spirit. Okay? As we call upon Kali, she helps us to pour our energy into that which genuinely provides nourishment for the soul. Kali knows that excess static energy leads to detachment. to the point of being dismissive or indifferent in the face of suffering. And that's where many of us are, or many people in the world, especially when you take on the mindset of operating in the system under the guise of I'm doing my job, even though you know and you're able to see the people around you suffering.
Yes.
Your families are suffering. Your friends are suffering. Your children are suffering. You are suffering. But you're so detached and indifferent to the situation that you're not able to call a reckoning to what it is that you're experiencing. You're just going along with it.
Yes. Whew. We call that programming.
We call that programming. So when the Ghana Tantrika arises in a reading, we are asked to trust in the shifting cycles and to give ourselves what we need for our well-being. No being benefits when they are at odds with themselves. You have the inner power and the capacity to be at peace within yourself, within your own being now as you arise. And Aaliyah again is the etymology or translates into the definition of rising, to arise or to ascend. And how you ascend is through the energy of the Akasha, through the records, through the sound of frequency, through the sound of tone. So Aaliyah brings the message of ascension, to be willing to rise and to ascend in the face of the destruction that is at hand, because it's at hand. It's not coming, it's here now. And Mother is restoring order in order for us to ascend to our rightful places.
Yes.
Go ahead, Shai.
Listen. I don't even know what to say anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I've said so much over these past 5 years.
Yeah.
And I all I can say is we're here.
We're here.
You know, we've made it. We've made it to the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
And honestly, from here, it's downhill from here.
And listen.
It's downhill from here. Like,
listen. And I agree. I feel that we've been talking for, it doesn't even seem like it's been that long, but we've been talking for well over 5 years. And now, like you said, we're at the height of it. We're at the climax of the story that we've been in.
yes.
And Mother is simply saying, before the earth shakes and the heavens tremble, the sun and the moon will be darkened, and the stars will no longer shine. The Mother thunders at the head of her army. Her forces are beyond number, and the mighty is the army that obeys her command. The day of the Mother is great, and it is dreadful. Who can endure? Who can endure, and who will endure? As we ascend, as we rise, as we change in sound, and in frequency, and in tone. Who can endure? And I think that that's all I'm going to say. And I think that brings the message home with Aaliyah. And she just tells us to look for the messages. Look for the confirmation. Okay? Look for the signs in the heavens and in the earth. Because the earth is about to shake and to tremble.
And it's getting closer.
That's it. Look for the
There was just an earthquake in Hawaii. That is not far from here.
It is not far from here.
It's not far from
It's
here.
getting
And
closer.
it's getting closer and closer. And the U.S. is next. Every other continent on this planet has gotten rocked.
Yes.
Except for us.
Yes.
we've still been without. I mean, we've had, you know, little storms here and there, but when we're talking about complete, utter destruction and shutdown, we have not seen that yet.
Yes.
And so it is coming.
It is coming.
It's
already
coming.
been established.
It's coming.
It's already been established.
I thought it was a grasshopper, sis. I mean, I don't even know what to say. Because as soon as you said today, Sha, that was a locust. Or not even that was I think you may have said that, Sha, what you saw was a locust.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, let me send y'all the video again. Like,
yes. And it was
I thought it was I've never seen a grasshopper so big. So it showed itself to me.
Yes.
You know, it showed itself to me. Me and Kennedy weren't even, like, I was like, oh, you know, let's randomly go to this place. You know, it just all synced up so divinely that, you know, even Aaliyah was trying to speak to me through the locusts, you know? So I have to pay homage, you know, not only to that and just respect, but you know, again, like these bug totems, like people just think these bugs are pests, but these are totems.
They're speaking to us and everything. And you know, when we first started really pushing the message of paying attention to the animal totems, paying attention to the insect totems, nobody was focusing on that. Nobody was talking about that. Nope. And these are the beings that are directly in our faces. They're directly in our environments. And this is where Mother is sending her messages. She's sending it through her creation. And we aren't the only thing a part of her creation. Everything down here on this realm is a part of her creation. Yes. Okay? And so if they are getting the messages, we must too recognize these messages. We must too be in line and be so in sync and so connected with the Divine Mother. Okay? It's Mama Kali for me.
Okay.
It's Mama Kali for me. Okay? And so it's going to be important for us to tap in, to become so spiritually connected to ourselves like never before, so that we are able to hear what is being established on this planet. What are you establishing through your tone, through your sound? That is how you will know what is being established. Because you are speaking into the universe and we are saying, let there be light. Ooh, let there be darkness. And the animals are echoing, the insects are echoing it back. We as the melanated womb are getting fed up and tired of watching our creation run amok. And so the energy of this planet is echoing back to us. We hear you, Mother. We hear you.
We hear you.
Shake the earth, Mother. The earth is shaking, Mother. The earth is trembling, Mother. And she's telling us to look into the skies. Pay attention to your environments so that we are able to hear what thus saith the Mother. Okay? And I'm going to close this 10th. Anything you want to say about this 1010 portal too? Because we're also under this 1010 portal. Okay?
Yes, we are. So the 10 is the Justice card.
Yes, look at that. We can't make this shit up. We can't.
Actually, no, is it 11 or is it 10?
You need me to look it up? Let me look it up.
Well, actually, it is the 10th. It's the 10th card in order, but it's the 11th card by number. I should say that.
Okay.
Because, you know, the major arcana has the 0,
yes,
which is the first. So technically it is the 10th, but it's the 11th by number. But either way, you know, I just want to really reiterate the call to bring your own justice into your life, which will allow you to rebalance your scales on today. So, you know, really this is about taking into account the weight of your heart against the feather. you know, which obviously your heart being the physical being and the feather being your thoughts, right? And so, you know, another deity that we find that resonates with the feather is Mayat, which is also the mother of the balance, right? And so as we are talking today about mother bringing balance, we really have to pay, again, homage to Mayat, who is the deity of balance. She is, you know, how we recalibrate the energy on this earth, right? And it's we, as I keep saying, yo, we cannot continue to go on like this. We just can't. We just can't. When you have, you know, single mothers out here trying to do any and everything for their children, and they're still falling up short. They're still coming up short. You know, they're still being murdered in the streets. They're still, you know, being stalked and you know, harassed by their daughters' fathers, and you know, these men who want to take advantage of women. Like it's done. It's done. And so today I really ask, with 10 people being in this room right now on 1010, you know, I really ask that you all, you know, they say 1010 is about abundance, but 1010 is really about bringing in alignment your justice. But your justice is your heart against the feather. Is your heart truly free? Have you truly let go of all the physical attachments that you have here on this earth? Are you truly ready for ascension? You know, if the rapture were to fall today and we were completely wiped off of this earth, do you know where you would be at? Do you know where you would go? You know, would you have to come back here and relearn your lesson? Or would you be allowed to go on and move forward and ascend into that higher realm? You know, and so some people are going to have to be honest with themselves on today and say, you know what? I would get left. I would get left behind, you know, or nah, you know what? I might have a chance. I might have a chance. So I think today is just about sitting down and just being brutally honest. Not only that, but just, you know, really creating vision for yourself, Ruta. One thing that you always say is that you have to have vision.
Yes.
You have to have a vision. You have to have something that you are going after. Not a job, not a career, not the bag, not a relationship, but but more so relationship with yourself, right? And that is what the heart against the feather is. It's called the weighing of the heart. That is the ceremony that happens with Mayat, but also, you know, with other deities. And I encourage you all to go and to research what that scene is on the wall in Kemet, which is called the weighing of the heart. You know, it's the judgment scene, right? Yeah. And so again, the judgment card has the trumpet on it, which is the sound. All right. And then what is next after the judgment card? It is the world, which is the ending. Come on. And so we are almost there, y'all. We are almost at the end of the journey. So I need all of us to prepare ourselves, you know, mentally, physically, but most importantly, spiritually. Prepare yourself, because we are at the end.
Yes. Yes, we are.
And that's it, you know. Yeah. I just been trying to lay low. So.
Yes. And go within and really determine what it is that you are establishing here on this plane of existence. What are you establishing above within the heavens? What are you establishing as above, so below? So what you establish here is established in the ethers. Okay, yeah. What you bound here is bound in the heavens. What you bind here is binded in the heavens. What you loose here is loosed in the heavens. Okay, and I think that's a beautiful way to close out this live. And again, this song, I'm going to play it again, called "It Has Been Established" by Jacqueline Carr. And it's a timely song, and I think it goes beautifully with this message. And so as we close out this live, I invite you guys to become present in this energy, to become present with the energy of Aaliyah, with the message of Aaliyah, which is to make Aaliyah, which is to ascend, to rise up, and that the Jew, the false Jew, is put back into its place as the indigenous people to this land rise up and is put back where it belongs, where she belongs, where he belongs. Okay? So it has been established.
Yes.
In me, so be it in me. It's already done. It's already finished. I'm already qualified.
You already qualified, unless you disqualify yourself.
Already finished. It just been established. Whatever I bind, be bound in heaven. Whatever I loose, be loose in heaven. Already. It's already. I'm already qualified. It's already finished. Sing it all together, say, it's already done. And it's already finished. You ain't gotta worry about it. Oh, you're already qualified. It's already finished. Already. It has been established. In all the earth. Established. In all the earth. Whatever I bind, be bound in
Whatever you
heaven.
create, as above, so below.
Be loose in heaven. Be loose in heaven. Be loose in heaven. If it's mine, I want it. If it's mine, I want it. Oh, be loose in heaven. Be loose in heaven. It's already done. It's already finished. It's already finished. I'm already qualified.
You've already qualified for your ascension. You just gotta pick it up and walk with it. That's it. Rise up to lead it.
Established. God qualified me for it. Qualified me for it. The finger in heaven has approved me already. The judge in heaven has taken care of
You'll
my
have a
case.
beautiful, beautiful night.
It's
Peace, y'all.
already established.
It's already been established.